everyone, these are the colors I'm going to use for my clipboard project. I've got May Spring Turquoise Blue, and I'm using an interference blue as well. I don't have the name brand of that because I did put it in this little jar just so I can get rid of the bag because it took up too much space. So I am going to pour this geode style. I'm going to try. I've never done a clipboard geode style in a rectangular shape, so I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. So let's try this together. I'm also going to use some silver leaf foils, and we're just going to take a little bit of this blue. Generally, I mix up, for this one, I mixed up 8 ounces of clear resin. I took 4 ounces of that, and I used the 4 ounces for the interference blue. And then I split the other 4 ounces into 2 each. So I did 2 ounces of the turquoise blue and 2 ounces of clear. And then I took a tiny bit of that clear and I just mixed it in with the silver leaf. That way we can spread it at the end in the middle of this clipboard. So I'm just going to take this little cup and I'm going to squeeze it together just to make a thin line around the edge. Once that thin line is as best you can to be the same size around all edges, I'm just going to pour this interference blue right around that same blue line. And then I'm going to pour the clear in the center of that. Now that I have the silver where I want it, it can be moved for a little bit, but not too long. Once it starts getting tacky, you don't want to mess with it anymore. So I'm just going to take my heat gun and kind of uh, get it all warm, pop any bubbles that you can see. And then I'm just going to take it and go around the edges and kind of coax that darker blue to join in with that interference blue so we can start getting that geo look that I'm looking for. All right, it's cured and ready to go. I think it looks beautiful. You will see there is one tiny spot at the top where that silicone piece is sticking out where the screw would go. Unfortunately, the resin did not go above it to go over it. So it did make one spot on there. So I'm just going to leave it as it is since it's going to be covered with papers every day at work anyway. So I'm just going to be putting on the decal that I want on here. I'm going to have one go down the side and then I'm going to have one go across the bottom. So just put it on your transfer tape and get it as perfect as you can. I'm just going to eyeball it. I don't usually measure. Um, Most of the time it comes out okay. This time it came out fine. So, and then we will move on to the next step. Before I get ready to pour the final coat on top, I'm just going to clean it with alcohol, and I'm going to use a lint-free rag to try to keep any dust particles off the best that I can. As usual with any kind of leaf, some of them will pop up out of the resin because that was such a thin coat on the bottom, because I only filled this mold halfway up. So I'm going to just take some sandpaper and use a heavy grit to get it down, and then I'm going to go over it with a finer grit before I pour the last 8 ounces of resin on top. I couldn't remember how much I needed to fill this. So what I did was I took a measuring cup of water and I added 4 ounces to the top of the mold. And then I realized I needed 4 more ounces. So I'm glad I did that. So you could always measure a mold using water and then dump it out and dry it real well. Try not to break that seal around the edge so the water doesn't go down to the bottom of the mold. So I did mix up 8 ounces, and I did want a little tiny bit of shimmer. So I did add a little bit of this iridescence. I will link it below. And just pour it on and get it to the edges. And I do want it domed, and I will show you in the next phase how that looks. So you want it just barely above the mold without breaking the seal and dripping over. That way you will have a lot less sanding to do when this comes out of the mold, because I want to put a gold edge around this. So I'm trying to keep that edge as nice as possible. I used a torch lightly. I didn't want to get to the edges, but since it already had a cured portion on the bottom, I wasn't too concerned as long as I stayed away from the edges. And then I used my alcohol spray bottle to pop any more bubbles. And then I just pulled out a couple pieces of lint with my silicone stick, and then I'm going to let it sit overnight. And this is just where I wanted to show you how I domed it just up over that edge without it spilling out over. That way you're going to have a nice edge when we pull this out of the mold tomorrow. All right, it's fully cured. It's time to take it out of the mold and check out the back side. I don't think the back is going to be as nice as the front. Sometimes we do get a good design on a geode style though. And you can see through it, obviously. You can see that clear part. And that dome worked perfectly. There's nothing on this one that I have to sand down or anything. It's ready for a nice gold edge. Here's the two little pilot holes that should have gone through had I not put the flood coat on. But since I put the flood coat on, the little silicone parts didn't go all the way through, so I will have to drill them. And I am just going to use this gold pen. I love this one. It's got a nice wide tip. And I'm just going to go along the edges and get that border done. The hole goes almost all the way through, but we're just going to take this drill bit and get it all the way through. Thank you, hubby. And now we're just going to attach the hardware. It's got a bottom piece that holds the screw through the little clipboard portion. Here's the final product. The geode style actually worked on this rectangular shaped clipboard. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would really appreciate it if you can help me out and subscribe to my channel. I am looking for the first 1,000 subscribers. See you on the next one.